The message that destroyed my life arrived at exactly 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday in late March. I remember because I'd just gotten up to get a glass of water, my throat dry from the presentation I'd been mentally rehearsing in my sleep. My phone buzzed, its screen illuminating the darkness of my kitchen. It was from Lisa. "I need some time for self-discovery. I'll be traveling around Southeast Asia for a while. Please don't try to reach me." I nearly dropped my glass. Water sloshed over the rim, creating a small puddle on our recently installed granite countertop, the one Lisa had insisted on despite its exorbitant cost. "It's an investment in our future home," she'd said with that infectious smile of hers. Now, staring at those words on my phone screen, that memory felt like a knife twisting in my gut. My hands trembled as I set down the glass, my mind racing back to just 6 hours earlier. We'd been on a video call, discussing wedding centerpieces and laughing about my suggestion to incorporate mini disco balls. "This isn't Studio 54, Jack," she teased, her eyes crinkling at the corners the way they always did when she found me amusing. "But maybe we can put one tiny one at your parents' table. Your dad would get a kick out of it." That had been at 9:52 p.m. She was supposedly in Singapore, closing a major deal for her firm's expansion into the Asian market. The video quality hadn't been great. She'd blamed the hotel's Wi-Fi, but nothing had seemed amiss. She'd even blown me a kiss goodbye, promising to call in the morning before my big presentation to the board. I pressed the call button, my heart pounding against my ribs. 1 ring, 2 rings, then straight to voicemail. Her cheerful recording felt like a mockery. "Hey, you've reached Lisa Anderson. Sorry I missed your call, but leave a message and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Lisa, please." I heard myself say, my voice cracking. "What's going on? Whatever it is, we can work through it together. Just call me back. Please." My fingers moved automatically, typing out message after message. "Baby, talk to me. Are you okay? What happened? Please just let me know you're safe. We can fix whatever's wrong." The messages showed as delivered but remained unread. A creeping sense of dread led me to open Instagram, where I'd helped her create a wedding planning journey account just months ago. User not found. My stomach lurched. Facebook, blocked. LinkedIn connection removed. Even our shared Spotify playlist, Lisa and Jack's Wedding Mix, in progress, was suddenly unavailable. The reality of the situation hit me like a physical blow. My fiancé of 2 years, my partner of 6, had just effectively erased me from her digital life with the casual tap of a few buttons. The woman who was supposed to walk down the aisle towards me in exactly 73 days had disappeared into the ether, leaving nothing but that cryptic message and a void where my future used to be. I wandered through our apartment in a daze, every corner holding memories that now felt like accusations. The living room where we'd slow danced after I proposed. The kitchen where we'd attempted to make croissants from scratch, ending up with a flour-covered disaster and uncontrollable laughter. The spare room we'd been converting into a home office, its walls recently painted the exact shade of blue she'd chosen for our someday nursery. It was in that half-finished office that I first noticed the small details that should have raised red flags. Her collection of business books, carefully curated over years, was missing from the built-in shelves. The antique desk lamp her grandmother had given her gone. Even the silly World's Best Boss mug I'd gotten her as a joke when she made partner was absent from its usual spot. How long had she been planning this? How many times had I kissed her goodbye at the airport, not realizing she was gradually erasing herself from our shared life? The questions piled up like debris after a storm, each one bringing fresh waves of pain and confusion. Looking back, I can trace everything to that crisp October morning 6 years ago, the Chicago Marathon's charity run, where fate decided to play its elaborate joke on my life. I was running to raise money for childhood cancer research. My little sister Emily had survived leukemia when we were kids. Lisa was there representing her law firm, Anderson and Mitchell, though I didn't know then that she was actually part of the Anderson family. I remember her standing at the water station near mile marker 18, wearing a volunteer jacket that was slightly too big for her petite frame. She had her dark hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, wisps escaping around her face in the morning breeze. When I stopped for water, She didn't just hand me a cup. She made a show of presenting it like a sommelier with an expensive wine. Today's selection is a lovely local tap, vintage 2017, she said with a perfectly straight face. Notes of chlorine with a hint of plastic cup. I nearly choked on the water laughing, which led to an embarrassing coughing fit. Instead of being put off, she patted my back and said, "Well, that's one way to get a guy to stick around and chat." We ended up talking for nearly 10 minutes, completely throwing off my race time, about everything from running shoes to favorite pizza places. When she mentioned deep dish was overrated, I knew she was either a fellow East Coast transplant or a keeper. Turned out she was both. I didn't ask for her number. I figured someone that beautiful and funny must be taken, and besides, I was a mess of sweat and running gear. But 2 days later, she found me on Facebook. "Hey, water station guy. Hope you finished the race without any more choking incidents. Want to grab coffee and prove to me that Chicago has any pizza worth eating?" Our first date lasted 6 hours. We started at a small coffee shop in Wicker Park, moved to an art gallery opening she knew about, and ended up at my favorite thin-crust pizzeria in Lincoln Park. She admitted the pizza was decent, which from a New York native was high praise. We talked about everything, our families, though she was vague about hers. Our careers, I was honest about my struggling marketing consultancy. Our dreams, she wanted to make partner by 35. I wanted to start my own agency. What I didn't know then was that Lisa Anderson was already being groomed to take over her family's law firm. The Lisa I met that day wore secondhand designer clothes and took the L train. She was real, authentic, full of life and unafraid to snort when she laughed too hard. That Lisa felt like my perfect match. The kind of person who could be successful without letting it define them. The first hint of her other life came 3 months into our relationship. I'd surprised her at what I thought was her apartment. A decent but modest place in Bucktown. Except she wasn't there. Her neighbor told me she'd moved out 2 weeks ago. When I confronted her, she admitted she'd been staying at a family property in Gold Coast. "I didn't want you to think I was some spoiled rich girl," she said, tears in her eyes. "Everyone treats me differently when they find out about my family. I just wanted something real for once." I should have seen it as a red flag. The ease with which she maintained 2 separate lives, the casual deception justified by good intentions. But I was already in love with her laugh, her mind, the way she could debate legal theory 1 minute and quote entire scenes from The Princess Bride the next. When she finally took me to her family's mansion on Lake Shore Drive, I understood her hesitation. The Andersons weren't just wealthy. They were Chicago royalty, complete with a family wing at Northwestern Hospital and a lake house that could comfortably house a small village. Her parents were exactly what you'd expect, politely distant, carefully assessing my potential as a suitable match for their daughter. Her father, Richard Anderson III, asked about my business plans with the detached interest of someone evaluating a potentially risky investment. Her mother, Catherine, seemed more concerned with whether I knew which fork to use for the salad course. "They'll warm up to you," Lisa assured me later that night. "They're just protective. Family legacy and all that." She rolled her eyes, but I could see the weight of those expectations in the set of her shoulders. For the next few years, we built our life carefully balancing between 2 worlds. In our own space, we were just Lisa and Jack, the couple who burnt dinner as often as we ordered in, who had epic Mario Kart battles, who could spend entire Sundays reading in comfortable silence. But there was always the pull of her family obligations, the charity galas, the board meetings, the careful maintenance of the Anderson image. I thought we were managing it well. Lisa made partner 2 years ahead of schedule, and my agency was finally taking off. We moved into a beautiful brownstone in Lincoln Park, expensive, but we could afford it with our combined incomes. When I proposed in Paris at a tiny cafe away from the tourist spots, she cried and said it was perfect because it was just us, no expectations, no family legacy to live up to. The wedding planning started as a compromise between her family's expectations and our preferences. The venue, the historic Drake Hotel, was their choice, but we insisted on personalizing everything else. Lisa threw herself into the details with the same intensity she brought to her legal cases. Looking back, I should have noticed how she always scheduled venue meetings and vendor calls for when I was busy with work. How she insisted on handling all the deposits through her private account to keep things organized. The business trips started increasing about 8 months before the wedding. Asian market expansion, she said. The firm was looking to open offices in Singapore, Hong Kong, maybe Bangkok. It meant long weeks away, but we made it work with video calls and text messages. She always came back with small gifts, a handmade wallet from a Singapore night market, artisan tea from Hong Kong, little pieces of her travels to share with me. Now, standing in our half-finished home office at 4 a.m., I noticed something else. The gifts had been getting less personal, more generic. The last one, a mass-produced, I Red Heart Singapore mug, sat on my desk like a mockery of our earlier, thoughtful exchanges. My phone buzzed again. For a moment, my heart leapt, hoping it was Lisa. Instead, it was Tommy, my best friend since college. Dude, you up? Rachel just got a weird message from Lisa's cousin. Call me ASAP. At precisely 2 p.m., my doorbell rang. The sound echoed through my apartment like a death knell for the lies Lisa had carefully constructed. I opened the door to find her standing there, tanned and polished in a cream-colored Chanel dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. Her dark hair fell in perfectly styled waves, and she wore the pearl earrings I'd given her for our second anniversary. A cruel touch that didn't go unnoticed. Jack, she breathed, stepping forward as if to embrace me. I took a step back, watching her smile falter as she noticed the other people in my apartment. What's going on? I thought this was going to be private. Oh, it was going to be lots of things, Lisa, I replied, letting her hear the ice in my voice. Just like our wedding was going to be lots of things. She froze when she saw her parents on the couch. Mom? Dad? Why are you here? Before Diana could respond, Lisa's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and I saw the first crack in her composed facade. What did you do? She demanded, her voice rising. James just texted that his wife's lawyers are calling him. What did you do? James Richardson, I announced to the room, clicking the remote. A professional headshot appeared on the TV screen. Currently residing in Dubai, though not for much longer. Father of 3, husband to Amanda Richardson, and serial con artist specializing in engaged women from wealthy families. Lisa's face went pale. You don't understand. Actually, I understand perfectly. Another click brought up bank statements. Let's start with the money, shall we? $50,000 from our joint account. Another $30,000 from your trust fund. Yes, your parents' accountant confirmed that withdrawal. But here's where it gets interesting. I pulled up a series of documents. These are records from the 5 other women James has targeted in the past 3 years. Notice any patterns? All engaged, all from prominent families, all left broke and humiliated when he moved on to his next target. It's not like that, Lisa protested, but her voice cracked. James and I are different. We're in love. In love. Tommy stepped forward, his face hard. Is that why he's currently booking a flight to the Maldives with his wife? Or why he's been meeting with another woman in Singapore while you were busy emptying Jack's bank account? That hit home. Lisa staggered slightly, groping for the nearest chair. You're lying. Like you lied about the business trips? I clicked again, bringing up travel records. Interesting how your supposed Singapore office expansion coincided perfectly with James's hotel bookings. Even more interesting how you managed to fund these trips after quitting your job 4 months ago. Diana gasped. You quit the firm? That's not even the best part, I continued. Show them the messages, Lisa. Show them how you and James planned everything. How you calculated exactly how much you could take before anyone would notice. How you laughed about my trust in you. Lisa's phone buzzed again, and again. Her hands shook as she read the messages. He says he doesn't know me, that his lawyer advised him to cut all contact. He's blocked me everywhere. Of course he has. Rachel spoke up, her voice dripping with contempt. That's what con men do when they're exposed. Did you really think you were special? That you were different from Caroline Thompson, or Michelle Parker, or any of the other women whose lives he destroyed? I clicked through photographs of other women, all beautiful, all successful, all devastated by James's betrayal. The thing is, Lisa, you're not special. You're just the latest in a long line of marks. The only difference is, this time his wife knows everything. And she's out for blood. You don't understand, Lisa pleaded, turning to her parents. The life you wanted for me, the firm, the society parties, the perfect marriage, it was suffocating me. James showed me a different way to live. By stealing. Michael's voice was like thunder. By betraying everyone who loved you? By living. Lisa shouted, suddenly furious. Do you have any idea what it's like to have your entire life planned out from birth? Harvard Law because Mom went there. The firm because it's our name on the door. The right husband, the right house, the right everything. And this was your solution? I asked quietly. Stealing from me? Humiliating your family? Destroying multiple lives? I needed to escape, she whispered. Then you should have just left, I said. But you couldn't do that, could you? You needed the money, the thrill of deception. Well, congratulations. You've succeeded in destroying everything, including yourself. I walked to my desk and picked up a thick folder. This contains everything, the fraud, the theft, the corporate espionage. Yes, I know about the confidential files you took from the firm. It's all going to the police, the Bar Association, and every relevant authority. You can't, she gasped. They'll disbar me. They should, Michael said, standing. Diana, we're leaving. Our lawyers will be in touch, Lisa. Though I suppose we should start calling you Elizabeth again. Lisa was just another one of your lies, wasn't it? As her parents walked out, Lisa, or Elizabeth, crumpled into the chair. I never meant to hurt anyone, she whispered. That's the problem with people like you, Tommy said, gathering the evidence files. You never mean to hurt anyone. You just don't care enough to stop yourself. The police will be here in 20 minutes, Pete announced, checking his phone. They're very interested in the international fraud aspects of this case. Lisa stood shakily. Jack, please. We can work something out. I'll pay everything back. I'll make it right. I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I'd loved, the future I'd planned, the life we were supposed to share. It all seemed like a distant dream now. The time for making things right was before you chose to become someone else's accomplice, I said. Now it's time for consequences. As if on cue, police sirens wailed in the distance. Lisa's phone buzzed one final time, probably James's lawyers with a cease and desist order. The carefully constructed house of cards she'd built was crashing down around her. I did love you, she said softly. In the beginning.
No, Irraplia.
You loved the idea of me, the safe harbor you could betray. The man who trusted you enough to let you destroy him. But I'm not that man anymore. The police arrived minutes later. I watched as they led Lisa away. Her designer dress and perfect hair, a stark contrast to the handcuffs around her wrists. Her parents' lawyers arrived shortly after, along with representatives from their firm. The machinery of justice was already in motion.